What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. Now, I'm going to try something a little bit new today. I'm going to do like a hybrid type of thing going on here. We're going to cover this article, and I've also got an interview with Tom Cotton. That the article is actually on the interview, so I figured why not just throw the clips in there as well. Check this out, y'all. Cotton calls Jack Smith a deranged fanatic over election season filing. Now, we covered this article the other day when the AP put out this article talking about, oh, well, Jack filing releases all the evidence against Trump for his election subversion case and all this stuff. And we start going through this article, and it's like, where's the evidence here? All they list is, hang on, Donald Trump had a lunch with Mike Pence and they discussed the election, and then a little bit later they had another conversation. It's like, hang on, like I thought you had evidence. They were just discussing the election over lunch. It's like, hang on. But let's get into this story right quick. Senator Tom Cotton slammed the unsealed legal brief of Special Counsel Jack Smith regarding his 2020 election interference case against former President Donald Trump as a temper tantrum. That is right. He called it a temper tantrum. Let's check that clip.
Let me move on and ask you about January 6th, though. This new evidence unsealed this week. Jack Smith, in this filing, says he has 3 witnesses, forensic experts, who will testify that when Donald Trump returned to the Ellipse, he went to the dining room by the Oval Office where he watched coverage of the attack against the Capitol unfold. And he was, of course, on his phone, on Twitter. A year ago, I asked Donald Trump about what he was doing during that time. Look. Tell me how you watched this all unfold. Were you in the dining room watching TV?
I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell people later at an appropriate time.
I want to know who you called,
by the way,
on that day.
Nancy Pelosi. I don't have. Why would I tell you that?
Did you call military or law enforcement?
What?
Did you call military or law enforcement at the moment the Capitol was under attack?
I'm not going to tell you anything.
Senator, do you think Donald Trump showed leadership in those hours when the Capitol was under attack?
Well, what I think about what Jack Smith did this week is that it was a temper tantrum from a deranged fanatic who is angry that he keeps losing time and time again in the Supreme Court over the course of his career. This is unverified, uncross-examined hearsay from grand jury testimony, which usually isn't revealed publicly for that reason. He went to court. He asked for special permission to file a brief that's 4 times as long as a normal brief and to have it disclosed less than 30 days before the election. This is professional misconduct in all likelihood by Jack Smith, and it should be investigated.
And just to be clear, the judge did unseal it. But just back to the question, do you think Donald Trump showed leadership in those hours that the Capitol was under attack?
Look, I know that President Trump said to the rally-goers who were here on the Ellipse in Washington that day that they should protest peacefully and patriotically.
It took him 3 hours to send that tweet telling them to go home.
He posted videos and other messages on social media once some of those rally-goers started a riot at the Capitol, telling them to leave the Capitol, to not assault law enforcement. I know those things. What Jack Smith is asserting in this filing is unverified, uncross-examined hearsay. This is a perfect example of actual election interference. Jack Smith violating Department of Justice regulations to try to get out as much unverified so-called evidence as he has because he's angry that he lost, and the Democrats don't think they can beat Donald Trump on issues like inflation and immigration.
Very, very quickly on Iran, would you?
Okay, so they get into a few things on that clip specifically, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But you love how he comes in. This dude's just throwing a temper tantrum. That's what it seems like, because he was struck down by the Supreme Court for crying out loud. Like, you've got to have solid evidence. You've got to build a good case. And their case is absolutely garbage, and that's what Tom Cotton is pointing out. He's just doing this, and it does appear to be election interference, and we've seen this time and time again. This entire election cycle has been nothing but election interference. They've tried to keep Donald Trump in court, keep him off of the campaign trail. This is getting outright insanity. The whole falsifying of business records, garbage, right? Like, that was an entire charade over some ridiculousness, a simple misdemeanor that was elevated to a felony on a multiple choice. You had 3 choices to choose from. 2 of those choices were federal crimes that they can't even charge for. So it's like, what's really going on here? The jury didn't have to be unanimous in none of those. So it's like, well, what is this? We've never seen anything like this before. It's all election interference. It's all to sully the name of Donald Trump because they want to take this man down by any freaking means necessary, and it's getting outright ridiculous. Tom Cotton is just pointing out the truth. Now, we're going to get into the question that was asked by Kristen welker right here. Did Donald Trump show leadership, during January 6th or whatever? And it's like, hang on, so this is constantly brought up, and it aggravates the crap out of me. Like, people, do you think about what you're saying here? Okay, you're mad because Donald Trump waited 3 hours to send out a tweet or make a video when you have people rioting at the Capitol. Okay, think about this for a second. If you just picture yourself right quick, you're in a riot at the Capitol, right? Are you going to be like on your phone, like in tune, or watching a television to see that Donald Trump come out with a video and told you specifically to go home and be peaceful? Are you really going to be worried about that? Or are you going to be like checking your surroundings because you're in the middle of a freaking riot? Like, that never made any sense to me. And they lay into Trump on this and just go in and go in and go in. It's just utter insanity, if you ask me. These people are so ridiculous. But you know what? It blows my mind is people buy right into that. Oh, he waited 3 freaking hours. Like, come on, man. He told them from the jump to be peaceful. And guess what? Once again, these people get their timelines all jacked up because they stormed the Capitol before Trump was even done speaking at the ellipse. Like, nobody ever talks about this for some reason. Like, they stormed the Capitol before he was even done speaking. So, to say that Donald Trump incited that riot, no, you're full of BS. That's what you're full of. It's nothing but garbage coming from these people's mouth. But this interview was just glorious, if you ask me. I was loving this thing. Let's see the other part of this. Check this out, y'all.
As you know, though, I mean, it has been stated that this was one of the most secure elections in U.S. history. But do you just not want to say that Trump lost? Why not just say the simple,
Kristen,
if Biden is president, can you just simply say Trump lost?
Joe Biden was elected president in 2020. That's why we have runaway inflation. That's why we have more than 10 million illegals in this country. And to go back to the point about the 2020 election, it was very irregular. You had networks, to include this networks, conspiring with big tech to suppress evidence of Biden family corruption. You had Democratic states and cities like Pennsylvania, like Philadelphia, changing their election practices on the fly. That's one reason why President Trump and the Republican National Committee is so focused on election integrity in this election to make sure that Democrats aren't doing things like they're trying to do in Pennsylvania, counting absentee and mail-in ballots that don't have dates or that have the wrong date.
And there's no proof that happened. And again, just to be clear, as I said initially, Trump did take his case to court more than 60 times. Didn't win.
Now, I got to interject right there for just a second. You love how she does this. Oh, well, there's no proof that actually happened, but let's keep going on to something else, right? Like, no, lady, like, he just proved you wrong. That did happen, as a matter of fact. There are several news articles about this, and then she comes in and says, oh, well, he brought those cases, 60-something cases, and there was no evidence, or they got turned down or something like that. Like, no. They turned him away upon standing. Over half of those cases were turned down upon standing. And if any of you guys don't know what that means that Donald Trump, they looked at what was going on and said, Donald Trump does not have standing to bring this case. It would have had to be brought by somebody who was actually defrauded or somebody that was actually involved with whatever went on. They specifically couldn't bring that case. That's what that means. It doesn't mean that they looked at the evidence and said, nope. No, that's what a trial is for. I mean, has anybody ever thought to push back on that? This is what the trial is for. They go over the evidence, they tell a jury, right? It's not up to a judge to look at the evidence and say, oh, well, no, there's no evidence. We looked at the evidence and there's no case here. No, that's not how the court system works. By the way, these people are just idiots, y'all. Like idiots. Like, it's either that or, once again, they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes to make you think a certain narrative to try to force you into buying into what they're spitting. But yeah, don't buy in to what they're putting down. Like, don't pick up what they're putting down. In other words, yeah, I screwed that all up. But these people are just outright insane. Like, trying to get him. I love how he kind of redirects. Like, he won't answer that directly to say Trump lost, but he essentially does. That should be a sufficient answer for these people. Yes, Joe Biden is the president. I will say it. Yes, Trump lost. It was, however, a very underhanded election. Oh, you want to say it's the most free and fair election ever? Really? We just covered an article the other day that was talking about Dominion voting machines. And lo and behold, we found evidence that in certain counties and certain places, right, they actually were connected to the internet. Yeah, one county in Georgia, and this is all we've found so far, okay? Now, there's 28 states that use Dominion voting machines. Now, we do know that, yeah, if you have the right equipment, you can create your own signal, and you can hack into those, right? If they have the capability to be connected to a wireless network, then you have the capability to hack into these systems. And we do know that some of those machines in Georgia were accessed from Serbia, for crying out loud. If you haven't seen that article, I suggest go check it out. It's insane. Some of the evidence that is coming out is mind-blowing on this, right? It calls into question the whole Dominion thing, because I had essentially wrote off Dominion. Like, that whole, to me, that was a conspiracy theory. But, you know, with this article that just came out because of some court filings, as actual testimony in court, not just the court filings, but testimony saying, yes, there was a lot of underhanded crap going on. They accessed these machines from Serbia. Supposedly, it was Dominion employees accessing this, but it was from Serbia. Like, why Serbia? Now, I understand that, you know, they may have global, you know, headquarters all over the place or whatever, but why Serbia? And why should Serbia be allowed to access voting machines in the United States? Yeah, that you shouldn't be able to do that, right? That only makes it look very, very underhanded. It makes it look like it's very, very unsecure, if you will. This is all just craziness. But they get into some other stuff in this interview, and it's quite crazy. Let's roll that clip.
Let me ask you about something different. I want to talk about one of the big moments this week from the vice presidential debate. We just played it in the open when Senator J.D. Vance refused to say that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. I want to put this question to you, Senator, just to put this to rest. Can you say definitively here and now that Donald Trump did lose the 2020 election?
Kristen, Joe Biden was elected president in 2020. It was an unfair election in many ways. I mean, you had states that were changing their election practices or election laws, sometimes in violation of their constitution. You had networks combining with big tech to suppress what we now know to be a truthful story about Hunter Biden's laptop and the evidence that it exposed about Biden family corruption. So obviously Joe Biden was elected president. We know that in part because—
But did Trump lose?
Joe Biden was elected, Kristen. There's a process by which we elect presidents. There's votes in November. You have an electoral college vote. You certify the election, and then you have the inauguration. Joe Biden was elected president. Everything has gone to hell in a handbasket as a result of it.
As you know, though, I mean.
Well, and there it is, folks. A United States senator basically saying the exact same thing I've been saying for the past year on this channel. You had Democrats going from state to state to state, changing the rules, changing the laws, changing up procedure around elections, voting, mail-in ballots, ballot harvesting, all this, sometimes in disregard to the state's constitution, to the United States Constitution, as a matter of fact, against the law. They broke the law doing this. Nobody ever brings this up. Nobody ever talks about the shadow campaign, and it's getting outright insane. And Tom Cotton does an excellent job at bringing this to their attention, bringing this to the attention of Democrat voters. But you know what? That's probably just going to float right over their freaking head. Be like, what in the hell is he talking about? right? I would love for those people to watch my shadow campaign video, because it's going to pop up right here at the end of this video. It pops up right here at the end of every single video I do. But I just love the fact that, yes, now we have a U.S. senator saying the exact same thing I've been saying. That's very underhanded. It's very dirty. And, you know, with collusion of big tech and the corporate press, the mainstream narrative machine, you know, reducing the visibility of a lot of these stories, not covering them outright, like the Hunter Biden laptop story. Like, all of this in conjunction, you got Zuckerbucks and all that garbage. You've got the study that was done where Facebook sent 100% of registered Democrats a notice to a reminder to go vote, and only 60%, or was it 70%? I forget. 60 or 70% of Republicans got that same notice. That's underhanded as hell as well. But now you see these people change their tune. Zuckerberg says he's not endorsing anybody when he was vehemently behind Joe Biden. Right? We've seen the disaster that Joe Biden has brought to this country, and it's been outright nuts. I don't see how Kamala Harris can win. I don't see how anybody can support Kamala Harris. You have to either be Trump deranged or not paying attention to vote for Kamala Harris. And look, I get all the Trump deranged people that just want to vote for Kamala Harris. Look, I get that. Right? You don't like Trump. I understand that. That's a symptom of a much bigger problem, right? You have Trump derangement syndrome. That is a big, big problem, right? If you cannot stand one person because maybe you didn't like his views, maybe you didn't like stuff he did, stuff he said, whatever. Trump derangement syndrome is bad, y'all. It is really bad. And a lot of people have very, very severe cases of Trump derangement syndrome. And unfortunately, there's no cure, there's nothing for treatment, for crying out loud, nothing that can reduce the symptoms. You know, for a little while, we thought maybe the truth would work. Come to find out, no, there's some autoimmune response that totally blocks the truth and reality from hitting these people's brains. Like, something just stops these people from thinking correctly, from looking at reality as reality plays out, instead of looking at some other TV screen of what they think is going on. When you over here, reality is something totally different, right? The people that are still saying the economy's great, look at the stock market, right? And this whole situation that's going on right now with this hurricane should prove it to just about everybody. They dropped the ball with the response to this. Okay, now they're starting to pick it up now, and they're starting to get in, and they're starting to do their thing. A little bit late there, guys. Of course, the federal government's always kind of bad on this, but they've been really bad, right? Like, their signals of what they're telling people hasn't been very good either. You want to know why that is? It's because people are actually pointing out that the federal government sucks, right? Like, they come out and say that FEMA doesn't have enough money for the remainder of the hurricane season. What does that tell you? After the people in this country have seen our federal government send billions of dollars to Ukraine, billions of dollars to Israel, they're giving immigrants, criminal aliens, they're subsidizing these people's daily needs, for crying out loud. Like, giving them debit cards with thousands of dollars on it, and they're only giving some of these people $750. Now, there is more assistance available coming in, but that was the initial, and it's like, what is going on here? And then, on top of all this that's going on with this hurricane, Kamala Harris puts out this tweet, I think it was Saturday, maybe Sunday, I forget, talking about sending $160-something million to Lebanon. Boy, if that didn't tick off X. People were steaming, just outright steaming from this. Pissed the hell off. And I don't blame none of these people. Don't blame none of them. When there's people over here that, yeah, look, you tell these people, oh, we're going to give you $750, folks. there you go. Here's some assistance from the federal government. All you got to do is get online and go and sign up on our website. Hang on for a second. Some of these people might not have access to electricity. You ever thought about that? Like, I live in southwest Louisiana. We just survived a very similar hurricane back in 2020. Yeah, it was the COVID hurricane, as a matter of fact. It was totally forgotten because we still had COVID going on in the country, and nobody cared about southwest Louisiana getting slammed with a freaking Category 4 hurricane. It was an upper Category 4. It was like right on the cusp of a Category 5. We were out of power for over a month, which was insane. That is right. A hurricane right on top of a damn global pandemic. You know what we got from the federal government? $0 freaking dollars. We got nothing. Outright nothing. Now, I understand Donald Trump was president. Other people got stuff, but we didn't have the ability to do that because we chose to ride out the storm because it wasn't very powerful. We went through Rita. We stayed here for Rita back in 2005, which that hurricane was overshadowed by Hurricane Katrina, which Rita was stronger than Katrina. Didn't do as much damage because of the levee system in New Orleans failed. But, that was the civil engineering. That wasn't necessarily the people's fault. But, Hurricane Rita was devastating. But we survived. We got through it. Hurricane Laura comes through and is much, much worse. So, as it was coming in, we didn't think it was going to ramp up, intensify as quickly as it did. And it did. And it was too late to get out by that point. And we were stuck. Folks, my damn awning on my back porch got completely ripped off. A tornado. I got a giant field behind my house, which is right here. And I was actually scared as hell, to be honest with you. It's one of the first times I've been truly scared. I'm looking out my back door, and I'm watching, the wind go sideways, the rain blowing sideways, and all of a sudden I see the tops of trees start flying off on the other side of the field, and I'm like, holy crap, what is going on here? What the hell? And then what it sounded like I know people always talk about tornadoes sound like freight trains. Well, this one, I guess maybe it was unique to hurricanes, but it sounded like a freaking helicopter. I'm like, what the hell's a helicopter doing in the middle of a hurricane? But come to find out, I saw these trees flying off. It was a freaking tornado. It's coming right for my damn house. It wasn't a very powerful tornado, but it was strong enough to rip off my awning on my back porch that I actually had put some reinforcement screws into the posts and put some ratchet straps. I ran some concrete anchors into the slab and ratchet strapped that roof, my front and back awning, and it took that sucker anyway. But yeah, we didn't get nothing from that, like as far as money. But to be honest with you, in some of these places, and I feel for them because I know what it's like, you don't have electricity. We couldn't really charge our phones at the time, and if we did, it didn't matter anyway because we didn't have no internet for 2 weeks. We didn't have any internet for 2 weeks. They finally come in with some mobile internet garbage, like a mobile truck that supplied Wi-Fi to us, but, we didn't have power for 2 weeks. Nothing. It was boring as hell, put it that way, to say the least. But these people can't sign up. Some people just can't sign up for this money, right? It's like kind of ridiculous. But what are you gonna do? It's a disaster area. It's like not much FEMA can do on that. To be fair, be honest, not much they can do either. But it's just what the government does. They send all this money abroad and blah, 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 and then only give these people $750. It's just like a slap in the face, right? And a lot of these people, they can't go and stay in tune to politics and in tune to the news constantly, so they don't know always what's going on. It's just a bunch of craziness. These people are insane, if you ask me. Some of these questions they ask are just like really, really lowbrow stuff. Oh, did Donald Trump win the 2020 election? Will you admit it? Well, Joe Biden is the president, isn't he? Yeah, but will you admit, like, come on, ladies, stop playing freaking games. This is like really, really dumb stuff here. What are y'all talking about? But hey, that's what they do. They love to play their games. They love to sow their little narrative. Oh, well, it was the most free and fair election ever. Yes, well, hang on, there's no proof of that. But let's keep going and talk about something else, because I don't want to be debunked. That's what they do, folks. But if y'all could do me a big, big favor, smash that like button for me. Subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed. And share this video. Share it on X. Share it on True Social, Facebook, anywhere and everywhere you can. It would help me out, folks, because the algorithm is not my friend, as you can see by my subscriber count and probably the number of views on this video. The algorithm is not my friend whatsoever, but we try to get the truth out there. We try to get the information to the people that need it. And if y'all could hit that like button, I sure would appreciate it. And that's all I got for this one, y'all. I want to thank y'all for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.